NR Media, NR Sports Show, back with another episode. I have a special treat for you guys, all the Baltimore Ravens fans. Please tune in. I have a current Ravens player on the show today, but before we get started, I just want to say we are live on iHeartRadio, Spotify, on all the podcast platforms. And fans, you already know about the Spreaker app. You can tune into that on my phone and put in the questions on that app. We'll answer some of your questions if we have time. And man, happy Tuesday. Today's a great day, and let's get this started. And without further ado, we have Chris Wormley. He's a current defensive end for the Baltimore Ravens. Man, he's having a great career so far in his journey. He actually got drafted by the Baltimore Ravens, so he's back with the Ravens now. It's amazing, his story, and he has a great story. And he also played for the Steelers, Panthers. And he played for Michigan football, college football, one of the best programs in college football also. And Chris, thank you for taking the time for joining the show. And like I said, fans, please tune in. We are live right now on iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Spreaker. So Chris, thank you for joining. And I know you guys are busy preparing for the next game, and you guys had a bye week. So talk about how was your bye week, and thank you for joining.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. The bye week was good. Got to go back home. And kind of rejuvenate the body, rejuvenate the mind, kind of, hang out with the family, see some friends. Got to go to dinner with some friends last weekend. But the bye week's just a great time to kind of reset, relax, rejuvenate. And, we got 4 weeks left of the season, and we're ready for that playoff push after this week of rest and relaxation.
Yeah, so tell her, before we get into your football career, how you got into football, talk about how special is it for you to come back to the team that drafted you from the beginning to start your career, and for the Ravens to give you a second chance, and what's that been like for you just to be back with the team that you started with?
Like you said, it's a full circle moment. Being drafted here as a 22-year-old kid and not really knowing what was going on in life to playing here 3 years, getting traded away to the Pittsburgh Steelers and had 3 years there, and then spent last year with Carolina, and now to come back, I feel like I'm a little wiser, a little more seasoned, and I feel like I've been able to bring that kind of veteran leadership, veteran mentality to this team. But yeah, it's been a full circle moment. It's been really exciting to come back to a place that took a chance on me 8 years ago. But now it's a different mentality and a different circumstance when we're talking these last 4 weeks of the season.
Yeah, so tell our fans, how did you get into playing football? And you were born in Toledo, Ohio. So talk about your early life and your family, and how did you get into football?
Grew up in Toledo, Ohio, like you said, and the school district that I was in, we could start playing football in third grade, and I was the biggest kid, the tallest kid in the school, so it just kind of fit in with I guess all my friends were playing too, but I had I didn't really know what football was. I didn't have any aspirations, as a 9-year-old of where I am today, but that's kind of how it started off, and then obviously into high school. And then decided to go to Michigan. Spent 5 great years there, and then third round in 2017, Baltimore picked me up. And somehow I'm still chugging away, and 8 seasons later, I'm still here.
Yeah, and speaking in Ohio, obviously they don't. Who were like some of the players or some of the role models that you looked up to growing up?
Yeah, I mean, ironically or not, I grew up a Steeler fan.
Oh, wow.
So guys like Ben Roethlisberger, which I had the chance to play 2 seasons with, Jerome Bettis,
Yep.
Troy Polamalu is my all-time favorite player. The reason why I wore 43 growing up, and the reason why I wore 43 at Michigan. I've never played safety, never had long curly hair like him, but just the way he embodied the game of football and the way that he played it at such a high level for so long. I have a lot of respect for him. So those were probably the guys growing up, just because I was a Steeler fan, and also grew up a Michigan fan too. So getting the chance to play for that prestigious university was a childhood dream as well.
We are live with Baltimore Ravens defensive end Chris Wormley. Fans, please put your questions into the Spreaker app. We'll answer some of your some of the questions. So for you in high school, talk about your high school career. Did you get to play? Did they have you play multiple positions, or did they have you focus on defense throughout your career before going to college?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of guys growing up playing football, they really got to play multiple positions. But I would say really since even junior high, I was always a D lineman, defensive lineman. Even in high school, I did a little bit of tight end, but never on a full scale or a full time thing. It was always D line. It was always defensive end, and I think maybe that allowed me to flourish at that position. And I guess I was born and raised a defensive lineman. Just my body frame, the way that I play the game of football, I think that's the perfect mold for a defensive lineman, and that's kind of where it's been, even 13, 14 years old in junior high.
And in high school, and you went to Whittemore High School. Talk about that, and you were named an all-state football player there in high school. So talk about that.
Yeah, grew up in Toledo, Ohio. Went to Toledo Whitmer, and really my last 2 years there, we made it to the Final Four in terms of the state playoffs in Ohio. And I don't know if a lot of people know, but Ohio has really good football. Whether you're talking Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati, even Toledo, Ohio has some really good ball players. So my last 2 years there, my junior and senior year, those two classes, and even the class after I left, we probably had 20 Division I football players come through there in that 3 year span. So I feel like that allowed us to kind of have a glimpse of what college was going to be like in terms of the caliber of players, the mentality it's going to take to go to the next level. And our coaches, I thought, really prepared us for that.
All right, we have our first fan question on my phone here. One of our fans wants to know, who were some of the toughest quarterbacks that you had to face so far in your career?
Oh man, I mean, I guess my teammate right now, Lamar Jackson. He came in during my second year at Baltimore. He was drafted the year after I got there, and I played 2 years with him, and then getting to play him 3 times. Those 3 years when I was in Pittsburgh, going from practicing with him and playing games with him to going against him. I think he's one of the most special players in the league when you look at what he can do, not only throwing the ball but running the ball. He's one of those once in a generation players. I would say Lamar definitely is number one. Number two, another teammate of mine, Derrick Henry. Now, the way that he runs the ball, I played against him a bunch of times when he was in Tennessee, and the things that he's able to do with the ball in his hand are pretty special as well.
Yeah, and we'll get to them later, but your recruitment process going into college is interesting, and you picked Michigan over Ohio. I mean, Ohio's the people in Ohio do not fare. They don't like Michigan or Michigan State. But talk about your recruitment process, and did you get any offers from the Ohio teams, and what made you choose Michigan?
Yeah, I think the thing with me that really, well, I guess we can even backtrack. I mean, I had offers from all of the Big Ten and a lot of SEC schools and some teams out west, but for me, it really did come down to Ohio State and Michigan. I took trips to Ohio State, went to games there as a recruit, but I think going into my senior year, Jim Tressel, if you think back to then, Jim Tressel, the head coach at Ohio State, had just gotten fired, and they had Luke Fickell, and then obviously they hired Urban Meyer. I had a couple conversations with Urban and didn't get the best feel for him as a coach and what I was looking for as a coach. And Michigan was just coming off a really good season with Brady Hoke's first year as a head coach. They had just beat Ohio State. They won the Sugar Bowl, and they went 11-2. And I really thought coming into that program, we were gonna change some things around. And obviously, those first 3 years didn't happen the way we wanted it to until Harbaugh came. But yeah, it really did come down to Ohio State and Michigan. Being from Toledo, Ohio, it's right on the border of Michigan and Ohio. So it's about 2 hours closer to Ann Arbor, Michigan, where the University of Michigan's at, compared to Columbus, Ohio, and where Ohio State's at. But it came down to the best feel. Obviously, Michigan's a great football program and a great university for academics. And as an 18-year-old kid, that meant a lot to me. It was close to home, so I wanted to stay, somewhat relatively close. And, basically having a team like Michigan in your backyard was something special.
Yeah, Michigan has a lot of history when it comes to players going into the NFL, and a lot of history winning. And And talk about what for you was like being part of that Michigan history, the blue and yellow, and the fans. You guys had a great fan base, bringing it every game, and talk about the atmosphere in Michigan. What was that like for you?
I just want to correct you. It's the maize and blue, not
I
the
mean,
blue
maize
and
and blue.
yellow.
Sorry, maize and blue. That's what I meant. Maize and
Yeah,
blue.
yeah. No, you're good. You're good. No, I mean, it was, when you get to play in front of 100,000 plus
Yeah.
people, 110,000 plus people every home game, it's something special. When you talk about the tradition of the team with the Heisman winners and the national championships and the Big Ten championships, guys like Tom Brady, Charles Woodson, Desmond Howard, the list goes on when it comes to the type of players that come through there, and to be one of those guys that came through there as a captain, really worked his way, played 5 seasons there. It means a lot, when you're a Michigan man from the day you step on there until the day that you die. You step on campus to the day that you die. So it means a lot to have went there and to have played there, and I hold that with a lot of pride.
We have another fan question for you. One of our fans wants to know, they want to know what was it like for you guys to be competing at the highest level in college to get ready for the NFL. So they want to know, did it help you prepare better when it came to before going into the NFL?
Definitely. Our defensive coordinator and our D-line coach, a guy by the name of Greg Madison, who's is still a huge mentor to me, somebody that I still talk to this day, was just coming. He left the Baltimore Ravens. He was the defensive coordinator there for a few years and had coached in the NFL for a while, and left to become the defensive coordinator at Michigan. So that was one of the big selling points for me to get to go to Michigan from that recruiting process. To be able to be coached by somebody who knows what it looks like to be an NFL player, who knows what it looks like to coach NFL talent, was big. So I think going and you can get to the NFL a lot of different ways. But for me, I thought the best path for me was to go to Michigan and be coached by people who had not only played in the NFL but also had coached there at a high level.
Hey, you made the right choice, man. You're still playing, and in my opinion, you're underrated as a defensive player. And so for you, talk about you right now. Currently, you're playing underneath John Harbaugh, but you played underneath Jim Harbaugh too in Michigan. So you got to play with both brothers. So talk about what was it like playing underneath Jim in Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, under Jim, it was great to an extent. When you talk about with Brady Hoke's last year, we went 5-7. We hired Jim Harbaugh. We go 10-3 that next year. We're like, okay, this is the type of team that we know that we could have been with the right coaches, and not just Jim being there, but the assistant coaches below him, the players that had stuck at Michigan and stayed at Michigan through those tough years. We knew that we could be the type of players and the type of team that we were those last 2 years there that I was at Michigan. And then getting drafted by the Baltimore Ravens, I kind of had an idea of how John was going to want practice to be ran, just based off of the mentality that Jim has and still does to this day. They're very similar when it comes to how they want football to be played, the mentality of it, the physicality, also the mental load of playing in the NFL and then playing for a guy like Jim at Michigan. You have to know the insides and out of football, really both sides of the ball, if you want to be a successful player in their schemes. So going from Michigan with Jim to Baltimore with John, I feel like it was an easier transition than it would have been if I would have went somewhere else and got drafted somewhere else.
Yeah. So for you at home and at Michigan, talk about like the high intensity games and obviously the big pressure games, and what was it like just to have the advantage at home with the fans at the big house?
Every game, especially once you got into the Big Ten, was a high pressure, high intensity situation games, especially those games against Michigan State, Ohio State, Penn State. Besides the big house in Ann Arbor, I don't think there's a better place to play than Penn State when they have the whiteout, when they have the night games. That's a special stadium as well. But yeah, I mean it like I said, when you play against or in front of 100,000 people, nationally televised every week, the stakes are high. the eyeballs are on you at all times, and I think that allows you to get used to it, block out the noise, block out any distractions that may be coming because you have a job to do, and that's to play football and win football games.
Yeah, your first year you went through a tough time. You had a torn ligament during training camp, and talk about that. How did you learn from that injury? And you came back strong, obviously, and you put up some great numbers at Michigan. And you and Jake Butt were named captains too at one point. So, but first, just tell our fans, what did you learn from that injury, and then going forward from there?
That was my first time ever really being injured, ever having surgery. I just remember howling around Michigan's big campus on crutches, trying to figure out not only my freshman schedule, but how to not sweat through my shirts in September heat in Michigan on crutches. And I would say more than anything, it was the mental load of Michigan, who's a prestigious university when it comes to academics, and trying to figure out how I can keep this knee from. How I can come back as fast as possible with this rehab. So it wasn't the strengthening, it wasn't the working out or getting my knee back healthy. It was really just the mental side of it all that I think allowed me as an 18, 19-year-old child really to blossom into a young man and try and figure out how to maneuver in this new environment, this new situation that is college and college football.
We have another fan question for you on my phone. One of our fans wants to know what's it like playing in the division with, obviously you were with the Ravens, but when you were with the Steelers and you're playing against the Bengals, Browns, what's that like being in that division?
Week in and week out, it's one of the, and I guess year in and year out, it's one of the best divisions in all of college, in all of the NFL. When you look at divisions like the NFC South, who aren't. They're competitive because their records are all pretty similar. Or you look at the, I guess you could say this year with the AFC East, with those three other teams having losing records. Each week and each season that, and we look at the Bengals now who are kind of coming on hot. They're trying to make a playoff push. Obviously, the Browns aren't having the season that they're wanting, but us and the Steelers, we're going to make the playoffs this year. It's just going to depend on these last 4 weeks who's going to win the division. And whoever doesn't win the division we're probably going to play each other again in the playoffs. So when you play in a division like the AFC North, it's physical, it's tough, it's grown man football. And that's all I've really known. I was in Carolina last year, but for the majority of my career, it's been in the AFC North, and I think this is some of the best football that can be played in the NFL.
Yeah, let me say one thing on Carolina. I know you had experience with Carolina, but the Panthers, everybody, if I know they're going through a rough time, but if you think about it, they're building the right way. And Dave Canales is the right fit for that team, and I feel like they're gonna come up. They're coming up. But what was it like just to be with that team, and obviously with the Panthers, and now you're seeing the young and the young players growing?
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of respect for them for the simple fact that last year I was coming off another ACL injury. And they brought me in and allowed me to rehab and get with the team and really take my time when it comes to that process of getting back to full strength. So I have a lot of respect for them. I mean, a lot of the coaches aren't there that were there when I was there and in the front office, but for them to have some success this year is positive. Obviously, with the new coach is going to be interesting. What are they going to do with Bryce Young? Has he shown them enough to allow him to get another year? But I think it's a positive thing that they have won at least one more game than they did last year. Going 2-15 last year was something that I had never experienced, especially in my professional career. But I think that they're on the right track. I think they can continue to build. And I think that the young players that are in that building are going to be asked to do a lot, which at this level, everything is high demand. But I think if they continue to put the right pieces around, not only Bryce, but the younger players, I think that they can have some success, especially in that division.
Yeah, so tell her on the show we love hearing about the draft stories. So tell our fans about your draft story, and you got picked in 2017, round three, pick 74 by the Baltimore Ravens. And what was it like for you being with your friends and family, waiting for your name to be called? And once that area code in Baltimore called you, what was that feeling like?
Yeah, I mean, you've seen some of the stories, or you've seen some of the videos of guys
Yeah.
looking pretty pissed off that they weren't drafted where they thought they were. And to be honest, I was getting close to that. I was getting a little
Oh,
frustrated. I thought I was maybe going in the second round, and went in the third round, pick 74. But everything changes when you get that phone call. It's a sigh of relief. It's excitement. It's happy. You know, people are crying. You're just it's like a sigh of relief when it comes to, okay, now I know where I'm going to be. Now I know what, the location, the team. Now it's time to get to work again, and now it's time to put in, all the work that you put in for the last 15 years of your life is coming to fruition. But there's still more work to do. And year 8 in this business, there's still more work to do for me, especially if I want to continue to play. But to get that call from Ozzie Newsome from that Baltimore area code was a moment that I'll never forget.
man, Ozzie Newsome, a legend. Man,
Yeah.
what a great guy, and obviously getting a call from him is really special. And your first year in Baltimore, you had a great defense. You had Eric Weddle there. You had C.J. Mosley, Terrell Suggs. You had the Brandon Carr, like Matt Judon. What was it like for you coming in as a rookie, knowing that you already had talent there and you can learn from the best?
A lot of those guys were what we call OGs when
Yeah.
it comes to football. When you look at guys like Terrell Suggs, as a Steelers fan growing up, I hated him. I hated what he would do to Ben Roethlisberger in that offensive line on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah.
He was a game wrecker, and was a game wrecker until he retired. So getting to learn from guys like him, Eric Weddle, who might be one of the smartest minds in all of football when it comes to the way that he plays the game on the intellectual side of things, was really beneficial, just to see how he moved within the building, how seriously he took the game of football. So when you have a lot of, and I mean, now I consider myself one of the OGs. A lot of guys are calling me, old and Papa Worm and stuff like that in the building now, and I take that as a sign of respect. I know those guys want to get to 8+ years in the NFL. And if I can help them along the way and show them the things that I did to continue to play this game, I think it's important.
Yeah, we have another fan question for you. One of our fans wants to know who are some of the funniest teammates that you played throughout your career with?
Definitely Matt Judon. He's always a jokester, always a guy that liked to have a good time, but was also a really good football player. Brandon Williams, who was a D lineman with the Ravens for a while. He actually just retired this year.
Oh,
He was one of the goofiest dudes, but also an extremely good football player. And I think when you can combine football talent with a little bit of fun, that just allows you to play free, allows the guys around you to have a sense of calmness, especially in this industry that's really cutthroat. So I would say Matt Judon and Brandon Williams were definitely two of the goofiest guys I've been around.
yeah, and you had the fortunate to be part of Michigan history with a lot of great players, and being part of Ravens history and Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, and part of that defense. Man, talk about that. What was it? How special was that for you to be wearing the same uniform as Ray Lewis did and Ed Reed did?
Those are two of the best at their position. They're both Hall of Famers. They're both guys that when you talk about who's the best middle linebacker in all football, Ray Lewis is probably top 2 and not number 2. He's probably number 1. When you talk about the safety position, it's Ed Reed, Troy Polamalu, and maybe a couple other guys. So those two guys, when you think about Ravens football, you think about defense, and those are the two guys at the top of the list. So whenever those guys came back, whenever those guys were at the games, you wanted to show out for them. You wanted to make sure that they knew that the Ravens defense was in good hands with this younger generation of players. Those guys are goats.
and now when you come in, and now you're back with the Ravens this year, 2024, and you mentioned Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, and you guys have a talented roster now also. And talk about what's it been like for you. And tell the fans if people don't know about the practice squad. Talk about that, and how do you prepare yourself when they call you to get ready just to come into the game, and talk about that. What process was that been like for you, and also what's it like being teammates with Lamar, Derrick Henry, and etc.
When you practice all week, you prepare all week like you're going to play, and towards the end of the week you have some sort of idea if you're either going to play or not. I played in 2 games this year, and both of those weeks, I felt like I was prepared to go out there and play as many snaps as possible. And you allow yourself to prepare like you're one of the starters, prepare like you're going to play no matter if you are or not. So you're never at a disadvantage when it comes to going into the game. You want to be able to show that you can play and that you know what you're doing. I think the coaches understand. I think the coaches know that I can play, and I don't think they put me out there if that wasn't the case. But you always got to be ready, stay ready, so you don't have to get ready. Is kind of the motto, especially when it comes to practice squad players. But playing with guys like Lamar and Derrick Henry, whenever you have Lamar on your team, you always have a chance to win. He's just one of those guys that. Especially when he's playing at his best. I don't think anybody is better than him, which allows us as a defense to play freely, allows our team as a whole. It's just a confidence boost when you see someone like him doing the things. I wish I had 6% of what Lamar Jackson can do. Just give me a sliver of his abilities and what he can do. Like I said, he's a special guy, special player.
And what's it like going against Zay Flowers and Malik or whatever? What do you call Deontay Johnson, and all these receivers, even Mark Andrews, and what's it like going against them in practices?
They're great players. When you talk about Mark Andrews, who's been a multiple-time Pro Bowler, a guy that loves the game of football. Takes it as serious as anybody that I've seen when it comes to how he prepares, how he goes about his business on a day-to-day basis. Like I said, he's one of those guys that loves the game of ball, and I know he wants to do everything he can to win. Zay Flowers is a special up-and-coming player. I kind of had an idea of the type of player he was, but seeing him week in and week out, continuing to improve, continuing to have those big monster games, I think him paired with Lamar for the next, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, I think is going to be pretty special.
Yeah, we have another fan question for you here on our phone. One of our fans wants to know, what are your thoughts on Isaiah Likely at the tight end position? Because he's another special player on your team, and when he makes catches, man, he can either go make into a long run into more yards, or if he's at the end zone, he can make ridiculous catches too.
Yeah, he definitely is one of those guys that probably doesn't get as much credit as people as at least his teammates know that he is the type of player. Just because we have Mark Andrews, who's probably going to be a Pro Bowler this year. Yep. But when you have 2 weapons like that, 2 big physical weapons like Mark and Isaiah that have a really high catch radius. I've seen Isaiah make some crazy catches over the last couple of years. He's another one of those special players that I think can play for a really long time, and for the most part, and one of those guys that we can count on to make a play when asked.
You play with another great organization with the Pittsburgh Steelers, but how tough is it for you? The team that drafted you, they traded you in the same division, but you spent some great years with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and you play with some great teammates too. But how tough was that for you? But what was it like just to go with to play with another great team like Pittsburgh?
I took it personally when I got traded. It was right when COVID shut everything down in March. Kind of towards the end of March of 2020. I really had thought that I was coming off my best year as a Raven, my 3rd year, and going into my last year, my rookie contract. So I was really trying to not only impress myself but impress the coaches in front office for that 4th year, and I get traded. But then when I look back at it, those 3 years in Pittsburgh were three of my best seasons when it comes to production. And so I'm very thankful, looking back at it, hindsight's always 2020. And even DaCosta, our GM, he said, "You're welcome to me," when I saw him, a couple months ago when I was first coming back here. And I think if once you understand it's a business, once you understand that the NFL stands for not for long, you can't take things personally. You can't take things and be mad about it. Obviously, you can use it as fuel to prove them wrong, for them, trading you away. But at the end of the day, my time in Pittsburgh was fantastic. I love my time in Baltimore as well, and I'm thankful that I can come back here and continue to help this team and continue to be a part of this organization.
Speaking of Eric DaCosta, talk about him, man. He's one of the baddest GMs in the league right now. He knows how to build a team. He's smart. The Ravens is always known to be for defense, and you guys always built the right way. Talk about Eric DaCosta, what he's meant to the team, the players. He's a players GM too, so he's all about family, and just talk about him in general because he's been building a competitive team every year in Baltimore.
When you go from Ozzie Newsome to Eric DaCosta, people probably thought it was going to be a let up. I think Ozzie's a Hall of Fame GM, obviously a Hall of Fame tight end, Hall of Fame player, but the things that Ozzie was able to do for those 20 years were pretty remarkable. And now I think Eric is kind of on that same track in terms of being able to draft people, finding guys in the undrafted guys and finding guys in the later rounds. Obviously, drafting Lamar. There are things that I think that he does that a lot of other GMs don't do. So his mindset and the way that he goes about the draft process and bringing in free agent players, he's one of the best.
Yeah, we'll take one more fan question. They want to know. One of our fans wants to know, what was it like being part of the Harbaugh Ball recently here? I think it was last week or the week before when the Ravens and Chargers played against each other. What was that like, seeing that?
It was great. We won the game.
Yeah,
I got to go out to LA and play Monday Night Football, which is always fun. But I can only imagine. I mean, they've been competing for 60 years. In the backyard, in the bedroom, in the living room. Probably in the classroom. In the sports world, they've been competing for a long time. So obviously to get the win is huge. But it's really cool to see two brothers who are they're top 10 coaches in the league, to see their success not only this year but to see the success that they've had throughout their lives. It's fun to be a part of.
Yeah, so before I let you go, tell our fans, what are you guys most looking forward to this week against the Giants? Actually, I got some friends that play for the Giants. But talk about what how do you guys, what are you guys most looking forward to coming to New York playing against the Giants?
We're looking to reestablish a win streak. We've been kind of back and forth this last month or so. We're looking to establish our spot in the playoffs. And it doesn't matter who we're playing. It just so happens that it's the Giants. And we're looking to get a win at the Meadowlands, and it should be a good game. But we're looking to win. Like I said, we're looking to reestablish this win streak and head into the playoffs feeling really good about ourselves.
It's crazy to think you guys already. It's only 4 weeks left, man. This NFL season goes fast. And what do you talk about that? Like the season and the grind of the season, even though it's a grind, it goes by quick, and it's already 4 weeks left.
Definitely the hardest part about the football season is camp, because it's just a grind day in and day out. Preseason games aren't the best just because they're preseason games and they don't really count for anything. But once you get into the season, those 18 weeks kind of roll pretty fast. They fly fast. You have the ability to kind of get into a rhythm, a routine of what the schedule and what the season's looking like. And especially when it's these last 4 weeks of the season and you have everything to play for right in front of you, this is the most important and the most fun time of the year is December and January. And obviously you make it to the Super Bowl February ball. So we're looking forward, like I said, this last month of the regular season and rolling and feeling good and going into the playoffs.
Yeah, so I'm big, like, obviously family's important. I'm big into family. And would you like to say anything to your family on the show? Should give any shout outs? And because we always love to talk about the players' families on the show because they have the support from day one. And obviously you're still playing in the league and traveling, and it's a business. So talk about your family and having, I mean, for them having their backs for you from day one throughout your career.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Giving me the time to. I just want to thank my wife.
Yeah.
She's the rock of the family. She allows me to do this, and I think I tell her all the time. But without her, I don't know if I'd still be playing this game. And her support, her continued love for me, and I appreciate her support, and I appreciate everything that she does for our family.
Would you like to give any shout outs on this show before we go?
No, I just appreciate you having me on. Love to come back anytime
Definitely.
you want me, and we'll do this maybe once a year or something.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. And good luck this weekend against the Giants. And I'll be rooting for you guys. And I'll be rooting for the people that I know on the Giants also. But good luck to you. I hope you guys get the win. And you guys need to win more, obviously. So, but keep up the great work. Thank you for joining. And this was awesome. And I'll be looking for you guys on the sideline on Sunday. So,
I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Thank you.